The war in the Middle East has now entered day 32 and it seems to have collapsed into a single point, the Strait of Hormuz. On one hand, US President Donald Trump continues to warn and threaten Iran's energy and water facilities, including oil export hub Kharg Island, if deal not reached soon. On the other, Iran's position seems very clear against America's military aggression and invasion. They don't intend to hold negotiations with United States. In fact, Iran's IRGC threatened major Western firms, including Apple, Dell, Tesla, Microsoft, declaring them legitimate targets over alleged role in war operations. U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth continues to flaunt bunker buster strikes on Isfahan and has declared United States is winning the war. Reiterating Washington's stance, he warned that the U.S. would escalate its response if Iran refuses to come forward and agree to a deal. But at the end, viewers, the financial and human cost of the United States' involvement in the Iran conflict is mounting rapidly, with early estimates pointing to tens of billions already spent. It is also upending lives and livelihoods in the region and beyond, and also dimming the outlook for many economies that had only just shown signs of a sustained recovery from previous crisis.
This new regime, because regime change has occurred, should be wiser than the last. President Trump will make a deal he is willing, and the terms of the deal are known to them. If Iran is not willing, then the United States War Department will continue with even more intensity.
We are now joined by Mr. Tom Cooper, who's an aerial warfare analyst and also a historian. Thank you very much for speaking with us here on Times Now. You called the war in Middle East a stupid war a couple of days back, a stupid war to reshape West Asia. Well, today, Mr. Pete Hegseth said it's all about legacy, it's all about history. Now, my question is, whose legacy will reign supreme? And for us to discuss that, it's very important to know, when will this war end? What's your view?
With regards of legacy, Trump's legacy and that of his aides is going to be that he has provoked absolutely unnecessary aggression and massive destruction with consequences which are going to be felt deftly through this year all around the world. And I'm not talking just about, you know, India or Pakistan, or we are talking about China, Korea, Far East, Europe, and the United States as well, not to talk about Africa. So from that point of view, that is going to be his legacy. As for about your second question, excuse me, what was that again?
Well, my second question was, do you see the war ending anytime soon?
No, that is simply so because even if the United States would now suddenly stop and pull out and stop attacking Iran, Israel would continue doing that. And Israel is the actual agitator behind this entire affair. It was the Israeli intelligence assessments which convinced Netanyahu that he should convince Trump that if they bomb Iran for 3 or 4 days, then the IRGC regime is going to collapse on its own de facto, and everything is going to be fine, and they're both going to be big heroes for toppling this regime. And Trump has, who is actually incompetent and hopelessly overburdened with his task, has simply accepted this despite better advice from his own armed services. Therefore, it's, well, the two are to blame for this aggression and the consequences as well. And if I'm to ask, actually, the point is, how is the rest of the world going to sue both of these parties for launching this war of aggression and for all the damage they are going to cause?
Do you think Donald Trump really has a plan? On one hand, he offers peace, talks about an in-depth, meaningful conversation with Iran. We don't know who he's talking to. On the other hand, he talks about hitting targets and achieving success. Does he really have a plan in place?
I doubt he has a plan for anything else but to enrich himself, which through playing the markets. For example, on Monday morning, he said, no, everything is going to be fine. We are negotiating very hard, blah, blah, blah. We have destroyed Iranian Navy. We have destroyed the Iranian Air Force. Then, you know, day later, he is talking entirely different things and so on and so on. He has nobody to negotiate because Israelis have not only assassinated the Iranian top leadership, but they have got, as a replacement for this top leadership, they have got 3 hardcore communists. Communists, these are I cannot describe them as ultra-conservative Khomeini followers, not Khamenei followers, but Khomeini followers. They are at least as fanatic as the Israeli leaders. So we are talking about two groups of people, three groups of people, including the United States, leaders of the United States, who are absolutely fanatical in their ideas, absolutely brainwashed that only their way is the only way acceptable and nothing else matters, not is acceptable. They cannot accept any kind of critique or any kind of different standpoints. And now these three groups of people are going to spend lots of other people to kill each other and then also ruin dozens of countries, or at least the economic development in dozens of countries. This is the hard facts about this war. And this is what is making me really mad, because the rest of the world is actually mutely watching and doing nothing about this. The UN has been completely subverted and disarmed. This is absolutely pointless to try doing anything against through the UN against this aggression. It is, all the other possible international organizations are obviously also useless in this regards. And what do we have? Well, now we have a major problem. And that is not going to go away anytime soon.
Now, today in the latest, Mr. Pete Hegseth said that we are deciding the terms, and Iran knows, the Iranian regime knows about our terms. They will have to accept our terms, or else he's once again warned of repercussions. My question is very simple. Is America really in a position to dictate terms to Iran?
A simple answer. If they are capable of dictating terms, then why don't they reopen the Hormuz? As simple as that. Where is the problem? Why this U.S. military might and superiority and dominating the entire Western hemisphere and whatever else I've heard from all the possible Trumpists of the last 4 weeks? Where isn't the problem? Why don't they reopen the Hormuz? They are so superior, they are so great, they are so fantastic, and Israelis even more. They are God's handpicked people, so why don't they reopen the Hormuz? Where is the problem? No, instead they are calling everybody else for the others to risk their skin for a war they have caused in order to reopen the Hormuz. Where is the sense in this? Excuse me, I don't understand this. That was figuratively, of course. The point is this, again, they are trying to impose their will upon everybody else, and everybody else has to shut up. Nobody should dare even resisting them. That is why they are attacking Iran this hard. That is why they are attacking Hezbollah in Lebanon, created precisely because Israelis are mass murdering Lebanese Shia for years, and nobody cared about this. So the Lebanese Shia started organizing a militia to defend themselves. This is how Hezbollah came into being. And later on it was connected to Iran, of course. And so on and so on. So they are creating themselves enemies for which we all then have to pay de facto.
Absolutely.
Or have to be afraid from. So it's on them to stop doing that. It's as simple as that. And then things might be different, let's say it this way.
You spoke about Strait of Hormuz. You're absolutely right that Donald Trump did urge the allies to come together to help opening the Strait of Hormuz. He, in fact, also had to appeal to China. Clearly, no one wanted to get involved beyond a point. But Donald Trump has now said in the latest that he can resolve things, that America can resolve things even without opening the Strait of Hormuz. Is that statement coming out of desperation? Does that show that he is on the back foot?
Look, again, he's incompetent, first and foremost. He cannot cope with this situation. So he must make these big statements and bubble around and so on and so on. It is always the same with him. At the same time, the only thing he knows is to exploit the situation for enriching himself. And on the other hand, you have the Israelis who are exploiting this situation to their advantage. So their advantage is a weak Iran which cannot defend itself. This is what they are attempting to achieve. And Israelis are also explaining, we are going to destroy Hezbollah, we are going to destroy Hamas, we are going to destroy Iran, or their capability to resist. Well, we have seen now, 3 years almost, 2.5, they are destroying Hamas, and, well, Hamas is still around and still resisting them. We see them now for at least 2 years destroying Hezbollah. Hezbollah is still around. So what do they expect now? That Iran is going to bow and run away or something else? That is not going to work. So obviously, the ideology which they are both pursuing is absolutely pointless and not going to work. And on the other hand, not to forget, I mean, the IGC regime is not some fluffy big pink bunnies. What is worse, I said, the execution, the liquidation of the top leadership of Iran has led only to hardliners coming to power. Something that probably wouldn't have happened this way under different circumstances. But now we all have to deal with worst sort of hardliners in Tehran, worst sort of hardliners, people who have so much blood on their hands. You cannot imagine this. There are photographs of summary executions of Kurds ordered by the people who are now in charge in Tehran. So and now we all have to deal with this. And this, the Israelis and Americans have created a mess, but we should all clean it after them. Excuse me, this is somewhere not making lots of sense to me. And this is as far as warfare.
So you're saying America has made things far worse. Now there are statements.
They're both making things only ever worse and worse and worse and more worse.
Now the statements that come in show that America wants an out, but perhaps does not know how to exit this situation. Do you think this is going to be, like Donald Trump said, a little excursion, or this is a war that is going to continue?
He can do so. He can do so. Excuse me to interrupt you. He can do so anytime. He could have declared victory already 4 weeks ago. On 2nd or 3rd or 4th of March. He didn't. He was too stupid but to do so, because he was still expecting the IGC regime to collapse. So even now, 4 weeks later, he could still say, no, that's it. We are victorious. We have demolished the obliterated Iranian Navy. We have obliterated the Iranian Air Force. We have obliterated this, obliterated that. We are victorious. Thank you very much. Goodbye. And the Hormuz Strait would instantly be reopened. This is the best about this.
But would Iran?
He can't do so. Why? Because the Israelis, that is the next problem. The Israelis have not only the influence upon the U.S. president, but upon U.S. Senate and U.S. Congress. And this is why the Americans can't stop, because there is too much Israeli influence. This is going so far that the congressmen and senators of the United States are feeling more responsible to Israel, because Israel has paid, or at least Israel sympathizers in the United States have paid for their election campaigns. They can't say no. They have to follow the orders from that side.
So essentially what you're saying is that Israel is calling the shots, not Donald Trump, it's not US. But what about Iran? Will Iran let go of this? Even if, let's say, tomorrow Donald Trump announces that he has obtained the military objectives that he set for his department, which he said, by the way, a couple of days back as well, that we have been able to achieve our objectives. Will Iran stop at that?
Okay, let me start this answer with a disclaimer. I'm not pro-regime in Iran, okay? I'm just explaining how do they think on basis of what I've learned about how do they think after studying them for 40 years. Okay, so from that point of view, they have attempted to negotiate, not once, not two times, not 3 or 4 or 5 times. They have negotiated also on 27th of February. They were still negotiating. Amid these negotiations, Israelis have liquidated, eliminated their top leaders, not only political leaders, but spiritual leaders as well. So what shall they negotiate about now? This entire strike on Iran has pressed them with their back against the wall. What shall they negotiate? They are fighting a war for own survival, for their own very survival. And these are, as I said, these are people who have so much blood on their hands that we as normal people, we cannot imagine how many people they have killed or have been killed because of them. So do you think they care about Indian economy, or whether Indians have enough gas or to cook, or in fertilizers to produce vegetables or whatever? No, they care just about themselves, just like American leaders care about themselves and Israeli leaders care about themselves. So we have these three groups who are so fanatical that they do not care about anything else. And the IGC regime is no exception from this rule. It's the same like the others.
Mr. Cooper, before I let you go, just one last question. This is something that everybody is talking about. There are a lot of speculations on ground invasion. Do you think there'll be American boots on ground? And if so, do you think the current strength is enough, or will there be more deployment in the coming days? Okay,
technically, a ground invasion, or some sort of ground invasion, under post office is perfectly possible. In terms of limited U.S. combat operations, for example, special forces raid deep into Iran to recover, if they know where is the enriched uranium, then to capture and take away some of this enriched uranium. Or, excuse me, for example, the U.S. Marines landing at some points, selected points in the Hormuz. For example, Great and Lesser Tamb, Abu Musa, Qashm, Larak, Siri, whatever islands are around. And disabling local Iranian bases in order to make the Hormuz free for the shipping. But foremost, in order to make it safe enough for their own warships to move all the 750 or 800 kilometers up the Persian Gulf and then to capture Kark. This is another frequently discussed option. So this is technically perfectly possible. And from the point of view of U.S. armed forces, they are superior enough to complete such operations in successful fashion. That means capture either some island or capture Karg or undertake a raid into Iran in a matter of 1 or 2 days. Where there is a question is what happens after these 2 days. So are these forces they have in field in which they could launch, they could deploy to launch such operations. They are sufficient for 2 or 3 or 4 days, but they're not trained, not equipped to hold terrain. They're only capable of quickly seizing another objective, keeping it, holding it for 12 to 24 hours, and then withdrawing with lots of firepower support. So that means they are then in trouble. If they want to, for example, use any of our captured islands as a negotiating bargain, as a bargain for negotiations, that's not going to work because the Iranians, that is not going to impress them. On the contrary, they're going to use the opportunity to hit the Americans with all they have on hand. So this is not going to work. And this is what also the top U.S. military intelligence officers and top U.S. military officers know. And this is what they are advising to Trump in this regard. So the question is, does he have a stomach to make another mistake, another such big strategic mistake like his special military operation in Iran, or not? That's we are going to see.
All right. Very quickly, if in a yes or no, if you could respond, is this a point of no return?
Yes, no. Excuse me. Trump must now decide what is he going to do. Does he have a stomach or not? That is as simple as that.
All right. Mr. Cooper, thank you very much for speaking with us. Thank you for taking those questions.
You're most welcome. Very much my pleasure.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break.